Hello friends. Today I will be talking about an Indian psychological drama film called Stars on the Ground. Ishan is an 8-year-old imaginative child widely known among his comrades as a troublemaker. He is the worst in all subjects and is the lowest ranked student in his class. He is in the 2nd grade, and judging by his report card, the boy will have to take the test again in the same grade. Unlike Ishan, his older brother Ihan is an ideal student. Outside of school, he plays tennis and participates in the upcoming tennis championship. Ishan often gets into fights with the neighborhood kids who bully him. One day the child's mother complains about Ishan's behavior to his father Nand Kishore. He has to embarrassingly apologize to the child and his mother. After they leave, he pushes Ishan to punish him. Although Nand Kishore loves his children, he is too harsh with Ishan. The man believes that the low scores of Ishan and his inability to perform basic tasks associated with his laziness. The next day at school, Ishan's English teacher asks him to read a line from a book. He tries his best, but can hardly get the words out. He has difficulty understanding the letters, but the teachers mistake him for a brat. When she repeatedly encourages him to read first, the boy starts screaming and is kicked out of class. Ishan's punishment is not new. In fact, he spends most of his time outside and not studying because the teachers consider him a nuisance to the other students. Ishan didn't do his math homework that day. In order not to run into a teacher, he runs away from school and wanders around the neighborhood all day. The boy enjoys the day to the fullest by buying ice cream, spending time by the sea and analyzing passers-by. By the end of the day he returns to his school bus and no one notices his absence. At home we see how he paints a beautiful picture. Ishan loves to draw and his creative mind helps in this matter. Later, his mother Maya tries to teach him and forces him to do his homework. She notices that he has terrible handwriting and writes almost nothing correctly. The woman attributes his inability to laziness and scolds the boy. The next day, Ishan will have to give his teacher a note about the absence from his parents. Afraid of getting into trouble, he begs his brother to write a note for him. Ihan makes a promise that he will never skip school again and writes a note. The kid shows it to his teacher who does not doubt its authenticity. He also pretends to be coughing to give the impression that he is really sick. On the same day, the math teacher hands out a test to the children. Ishan is handed a test, but to him the letters look like they are dancing. The first question is multiplying 3 by 9. In the head the kid imagines the 3rd planet Earth and the 9th planet Pluto fighting with each other. He fantasizes that the Earth will destroy Pluto and writes the answer 3. Leaving the rest of the questions blank, he takes the test. To the question of his friends, he confidently declares that he really liked the control. The next day, Nand Kishore returns from a business trip. Ishan is very happy about the return of his father and hugs him tightly. However, during breakfast, Nand Kishore finds a fake note about the absence of the boy. During the investigation, he learns that Ishan runs away from school all the time and wanders alone through the streets. The very next day, the parents go to meet the teacher and principal who condemn Ishan's behavior in the classroom. They will also learn about a recent math test and its results. The director suggests that Ishan is a special child who should be sent to a school for children with disabilities. Nand Kishore is horrified at the thought that his son will become disabled. But since both parents worry about the future of their child, they decide to send him to a boarding school. Ishan is completely against this idea. He rebels and cries, begging them to leave him at home, and although his parents also do not want to be separated from him, they do what they think is best for him. That night, Ishan dreams of losing his mother in the crowd and wakes up screaming. When she tries to calm him down, he promises to study harder if he is allowed to stay at home. It breaks a woman's heart, but Nand Kishore is adamant in his decision. Finally, the day comes when Ishan is sent to a village boarding school. He will have to share a dorm with other children and will be allowed to see his family only once a month. It's a nightmare for an 8-year-old boy who never left his house. The principal of the school greets him, stating that his old habits will not be tolerated here. After seeing the school, the family leaves with a heavy heart. Ishan, with tears in his eyes, watches them move away. He stands like that for several minutes even after the car is out of his sight. When it starts to get dark, he walks into the hostel still crying. The boy does not talk to anyone and almost does not have lunch. At night, when he can't sleep, he goes to the bathroom and weeps softly, missing his mother. Meanwhile, Maya gets home and rummages through Ishan's things. To her horror, she finds a flip book in which it is taken from her family. The book breaks her heart when she realizes how much a child is afraid of being away from them. At the dorm, Ishan struggles to do normal things, such as tying a tie and shoelaces. On his first day, Hindi teacher Mr. Tiwari makes him sit on the first bench with the best boy in the class, Rajab. Soon the teachers realize that Ishan is not normal. He barely pays attention in class and is physically punished by an art teacher. Nothing changes compared to what he was in the previous school. He is always sent out of the class as punishment and expelled from class activities for disturbing the order. Over time, he becomes so upset that he tears his books apart and throws them in the trash can. He stops trying to do better in school and sinks into depression and self-hatred. When his parents visit him a month later, he locks himself in his room and cries for the first time since he last saw them. He runs outside and does a few laps around the basketball court to cheer himself up. The family takes him to a hotel for the night to give him a break from dorm life. Ishan gives the boy a basket of art supplies, but he doesn't know that Ishan has stopped painting altogether. The next day, the family says goodbye to him and leaves him alone again. Later that day, Ishan realized that he had fallen lower than ever. He looks down from the terrace of the school thinking about what it's like to jump from such a height. His only friend Roger interrupts his thoughts and talks about their new art teacher. Ishan does not attach much importance to this because no teacher has ever helped him. However, the children are surprised that the new teacher, Ram, enters the classroom dressed as a joker. He sings songs, plays the flute, makes them dance and lets them enjoy the lesson unlike all the other teachers. While Ishan would love it, the depressive doesn't participate in any of it. As a first task, students are asked to draw or color whatever they want. Ram wants them to show their creative side so he knows what he needs to work on next. Children start drawing several things, all different from each other, but Ishan does not even touch the paper. At first, Ram assumes that the child needs time to think, but even when the lesson ends, the Ishan sheet remains empty. A worried Ram asks him what's wrong but gets no answer. Maya calls that evening to talk to Ishan, but he just hangs up and doesn't say anything. He is informed that they will have to postpone their next visit for a week due to the Ishan's tennis competition. For Ishan, this only confirms that his family does not care for him. He sheds a single tear and leaves without saying anything. The next day, Ram sees Ishan kneeling outside the classroom. Intrigued by his behavior, he asks the Rajan about him. Rajan says that Ishan hardly understands the letters no matter how hard he tries. Ram has been teaching at a school for disabled children for several years now, so he has seen special children. To learn more about Ishan, he goes through his old notebooks and finds a set of similar errors. Even teaching special children, he cannot get the thought of Ishan out of his head. He had the same problem as a child, so he sympathizes with the child. A few weeks later, he realizes what is really Ishan's problem and travels to his hometown to meet his parents. They greet the teacher and allow him to look at Ishan's bedroom. Ram is surprised to learn that the boy was drawing. This makes him even sadder that the child lost his spark due to the pressure that was put on him. Nand Kishore belittles his son by claiming that he is lazy and hates to study. Ram retaliates and shows them the pattern of Ishan's mistakes. He often turns the letters upside down as if he can hardly distinguish them. Nevertheless, the father associates this with laziness, but Ram directly states that he is wrong. He states that Ishan has a neurological condition called dyslexia, which causes him to not understand certain patterns such as letters and words. In addition, he has coordination problems due to which he cannot tie his shoelace. The guy must have suffered so much because no one realized that he couldn't read and decided that he was just too lazy. Nam Kishore thinks that Ram calls his son mentally handicapped and lashes out at him. To make the man understand, Ram asks him to read the foreign letters written on the box. When Nand Kishore is scolded for not understanding the letters, he finally understands what his child must be going through. Nevertheless, he refuses to accept that his son can make a living from his only passion in paintings. Ram is determined to prove him wrong. When he returns to school the next day, he tells the children about all the famous historical figures who didn't do well in childhood. He gives them examples of scientists, actors, and philosophers, which makes Ishan feel much better. When Ram asks them who invented the light bulb and chance for the first time in weeks, Thomas Edison speaks and answers. Ram sees a flicker of hope that the boy will learn. Later that day, Ishan is by the pond. He uses rubber bands to make a boat. Ram is so impressed that he brings the design home and keeps it as a decoration. Ishan's creativity is starting to show again, but he still has a long way to go before he learns to learn like other kids his age. One day Ram goes to the principal of the school and tells him about Ishan's problem. The principal offers to send him to a school for children with special needs, but Ram is sure that Ishan can study with ordinary children. He invites teachers to understand the child's problem and help him accordingly. When the principal says it's impossible, Ram offers to teach Ishan every day after school. The director allows it for the sake of the child. Starting the next day, Ram uses various innovative techniques to help Ishan recognize the letters of the alphabet. They learn with the help of sandboxes, plasticine, sensory methods. Ishan is also helped by people and books to learn how to count. In just 2 months, he begins to understand the letters that other teachers could not teach him for several years. One day, Nand Kishore comes to the school to talk to Ram and boast that they have become more aware of their son's condition. He wants Ram to know that he is not a bad father and is proud that he is. Ram, on the other hand, blames the father for causing the child to lose self-confidence, which even Nand Kishore cannot deny. On the way out, he sees Ishan trying to read from the bulletin board. "I regret that out of ignorance I hurt my child," he cries and cannot bring himself to look him in the face. In a few days, Ram will organize a drawing competition for both teachers and students of the school. Everyone gathers in the amphitheater and participates. Ishan uses the art supplies his brother gave him for the first time. The competition begins and everyone starts to draw. Even the teachers enjoy the event and try their best. Andon Chance creates a beautiful picture of him sitting by the pond. He goes forward to present the picture and sees that Ram has painted his portrait. He is speechless at the sight. Sometime later, it is announced that the winning picture will be on the cover of the new issue of their yearbook. The director states that the decision was difficult because the 2 paintings of Ram and Ishan stood out the most. In the end, Ishan is declared the winner and the second prize goes to Ram. The crowd erupts in applause. For the first time in his life, Ishan feels recognition of his talent. He can't help but cry and runs to his teacher to hug him. In the last scene, Maya and Nand Kishore come to the school for a parent-teacher meeting at the end of the year. The headmaster brags about Shang's talents by showing them a picture of him on the cover of the school yearbook. Parents who are not accustomed to the new attention are left in shock. The director also praises Ram for doing a great job teaching the child the way he needed. Later, the parents meet with Ishan teachers who show them the report card and praise the child's undeniable progress. Outside, a couple watches their son play and weep with happiness. Nand Kishore thanks Ram for Ishan's help and apologizes for his behavior. Finally, Ishan says goodbye to Ram and returns to his hometown for the holidays. Thanks for watching to the end. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and watch our next video.